Welcome to another session of Loft Media, where we are searching for the truth, and we're certainly about democracy, particularly in Queensland. My goodness me, things have hotted up, and freedom rallies all over the nation, 500,000 people. You don't see anything on mainline media about it, but fortunately there is social media, and that's where you start to get the true facts about what is really going on. Well done to all those that organised those freedom rallies and peaceful rallies basically everywhere. So one would hope that the governments are starting to listen to people. If there's 500,000 people who make the effort to go to these freedom rallies, then it's generally a figure of multiplied by 10 is the actual figure of expressing their concerns for where this nation and this country is going. So today's session I want to focus on, it's a little bit about, a lot of people ask me, am I going to write a book? And I am in the middle of writing a book, and I just want to give you part of what is going to be in that book. So it's going to name and shame people in the book on my journey. This is all about democracy, transparency, integrity, in Queensland in particular. And I think it will be good reading when it's finally finished. That's a bit of bias. True stories, visit to prison, and naming people that are not really people of integrity within this state of Queensland. So this morning I want to talk about the book that I'm writing, and I've got a name for it. It's called Hard Labour. Whether that ends up being the book title in the finish, but it's about hard labour. I also want to talk about Anastasia Palaszczuk, the Premier of Queensland, and the elite people that she hangs around with. I want to talk about the Chief Medical Officer, who is now the Governor of Queensland, and her husband. I want to talk about Twiggy Forrest, and also will talk about Henry Palaszczuk, who's Anna Palaszczuk's father, ex-politician here in Queensland. Now all these people are extremely rich, and you'll get the connection on the way through. Just as a bit of a backdrop, when I was elected in council in 2012, just here locally in Maryborough and Hervey Bay, Wide Bay water was quite an issue. And I began to do some research into Wide Bay water. And I found, after a fair amount of research, and the file was about this thick, that I was going down this very dark hole, that it was all linked to the Murray-Darling Basin, water. The water industry is a relatively small industry throughout Australia. The Wentworth deal, which was written back in late 90s, I think. And then I found these names that kept popping up with all these water boards that were around. And then when I hit the Abibs in Sydney, that's when I decided I've gone far enough, and I just put the file on the ground. It's interesting, in the years to come, the Abibs, of course, they're in jail for lots of shenanigans and stealing and robbing and inflated prices and deals with mates, all these sorts of things. And it seems that's an industry. The whole water issue within Australia is an absolutely corrupted industry as well. When we finally did bring Wide Bay, and Wide Bay water was just on the edges of all that sort of stuff. I'm not saying that it was corrupt, but it certainly was a separate to council entity where there were a lot of noses in the trough getting a nice run through that. That was then pulled back into council during our time. That's also, briefly, that'll be in the book as well. So this is just a bit of a rough draft to the book, and it'll set the scene for it. So I spent 6 months locked up alongside people who had murdered, assaulted and dealt larger quantities of illegal drugs than I thought existed. I shared a bathroom with them, ate meals together and even worked alongside some of them doing laundry work for $2 an hour. What some of these men had done might seem unforgivable to the victims of their crime, but most of them committed one act in a highly volatile environment. Most knew what they'd done was wrong and wanted to right their ways and get on a better path. During my time as the Mayor of the Fraser Coast, I witnessed something far more sinister and dangerous to the fabric of our society than I consider most of my fellow prisoners. A system of government that is stealing wealth from its people, dismantling democracy and silencing any who dare to stand against it with the full might of their powers. These people are the psychopaths wearing white collars, shiny shoes and a smile on their face while they plot, connive and implement ways to take from the poor and engorge the rich. Calling it a conspiracy belittles how serious this problem in Queensland has become. This goes far too deep to give such a simple label. This is a system of government designed from the ground up to steal wealth from the very people it relies on to maintain its bloated form of governance. Those at the top bully, threaten, intimidate and silence any who dare to speak out, much like some of the men I met in prison. Silencing people by any means necessary appears to be a common link found in convicted murderers and the Queensland government. This book is a warning to people who are just like me and thought that if you have good intentions and the support of the people, you could drain the swamp. Whilst I still believe this to be so, I felt the need to warn people of what they'll face should they choose to enter into the area of politics, hoping that honesty, truth and democracy will be enough to win. The enemy I came up against do not play the rules and consider themselves above the law. Every move you make will be scrutinised, picked apart, used to destroy your reputation and chances of improving the transparency and governance of Queensland. 2016 I became the Mayor of the Fraser Coast. In 2017 I was arrested for leaking government secret documents. 2019 I was sent to prison for breaking a law I didn't know existed. I may have had my day in court, but I certainly didn't get to tell my story. I have made mistakes in my life, but every action I took as Mayor was in an attempt to bring greater transparency, good governance and democracy back to my community. This is the story of the shadow cabal who truly run this state and how they managed to have me tried, convicted and locked in the prison for my 69th birthday. And I have titled it, at this stage it's called Hard Labour. One of the chapters in the book is also about the media and particularly our local media. So there's many names that will be launched into there. Peter Chapman is one influencer who used to be the editor of the local Chronicle. He was also very good mates of Paul Pasali in Ipswich, and will go to certain depths in the book as well. But there was another editor of the Chronicle here on the Fraser Coast, and his name was Jordan Phillips. So now young Jordan, I thought I got on particularly well with, and we had some very in-depth talks, and Jordan knew a lot of the facts, but he turned on me, and it was never really published. The information that I had shared with him. He said he would do it, but he wouldn't. So this is the type of character that these people are, and you can do your own research. Young Jordan is one of the lead people in a heavy death metal rock band, death metal band. It's called Disentomb, Disentomb. It's quite a popular and a successful death metal band. The songs that he sings and plays during their performances are things like The Sunken Chambers of Nephilim, Misery, Decaying Light, and many more songs which are absolutely horrifically frightful. I never liked death metal music because I know the base from where it comes from. It's not about light and life. It's not about democracy. It's not about families. It's not about things that are good, things that are kind. It's all around death. And it was only when I found that out and I realised, no wonder he didn't want to bring stuff to the light. It's not in the DNA within his band that he's playing. Still going as well. One of the themes during the book will be also is following the money trail. So this is a key to where you see corruption in anything. So you just keep following the money trail back. We call it joining the dots. As a good friend of mine says, you've got to keep joining the dots. So as you begin to follow the money trail, in regards to this COVID-19 epidemic, keep following the money trail. Do research and just keep searching and searching. And I'll share with you what I've come up about. Connections to what we now call the elite people who are the ones who are making the decisions. So these are the people that are on the public payroll. So you and I, Joe citizens, we're paying the wages of the people that are in the public service. We pay them through our rates, through our car registrations, through whatever. But there are many stamp duties on properties, the whole lot. That's where the money goes. So it goes to the governments and then the government dish it out accordingly. During the whole COVID exercise, these people didn't miss a day's pay, unlike people in the small business community or in the business community. They were held to ransom during this time and are still being held. And if these ridiculous laws come in December the 17th of the segregation between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, I mean, I can't believe that they have the cheek that they can bring these sort of laws in a democracy. This is like going back into America in 1960s where black people were not allowed to travel on buses with white people, or black people couldn't go to a restaurant if white people were there, or the schools, the black people were not allowed to go to the schools. We've turned the clock back, and this is going to be segregating at least, I think, 25% of the population. I think it'll be higher up in the further you go in Queensland as well. But I can't believe that they have the confidence and the gall to think that they can segregate people in regards to the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Just goes to say, I have absolutely no confidence in this state government in Queensland. I think the schools that they're running are on the verge of collapse. I know that their hospitals are under the huge amount of pressure, and that good teachers are leaving the school. I mean, I hear the experienced older teachers are just wanting out of the school system through the lack of discipline or respect that is within the current schooling system. So the freedom rallies that we're talking about, people are starting to wake up and they're seeing things are not right. There needs to be a giant correction. And as for Dan Andrews down in Victoria, I just don't want to even talk about the evilness that's going on there in Victoria under his power and control. Finally, the Victorians are starting to wake up to this demonic leadership that's in Victoria. So here in Queensland, this government recently has passed legislation on abortion, which is killing babies, euthanasia, which is killing the old people. So can I ask the question, why do you think they'd be concerned or caring about us who are in the middle group? Just contemplate that. Why would there be an inconsistency? Because they're wanting to reduce the babies, they're wanting to reduce the older people, and then down the list we go. Now I'll step into a few people that are connected to Anastasia Palaszczuk, our Premier. So let's just hit the top, and I'm sure she'll get to view this, and along with our local member Bruce Saunders, who is a man I will say is not to be trusted. our local member, Bruce Saunders, proud to be a union bloody thug. That's who he's hanging around. They're all proud to be thugs and bullies in this Queensland government we've got, as they sit with their elite lot of mates making the rules for the masses. This is so undemocratic. Finally, Queenslanders are waking up. This is an article that was published by the Atlantist Club. Now, and I've done my own research and I'm very comfortable in sharing it with you. Why do Queenslanders think that Pfizer is the preferred shot? This is all about the vaccination. So we're talking about the Chief Health Officer, Jeanette Young, Dr. Jeanette Young. She was the lady that was making all the decisions for all of us on the way through, not the government. They handed that responsibility over to her. And as we speak, she's now the Governor of Queensland. So she's been rewarded with being the Governor of Queensland. And for your own information, from my research, the only person that can sack the Premier would be the Governor. So here's Anastasia Palaszczuk's best friend, I will call it, Jeanette Young. She's now placed in being the Governor of Queensland. So she has more power now than she even had when she was the Chief Health Officer. Now her partner, husband, and many of these people in this elite group don't have the same surname. So generally the ladies keep their own name and the men keep their own name. It's just so that, I think, while they don't tie them up together. But her partner, Professor Graham Nimmo, he's the Director of Queensland Pathology and he has served on the board of Pfizer and takes speaking fees from them. He's Jeanette Young's husband. Jeanette Young has for months been telling people not to get the AstraZeneca vaccination, but wait for the Pfizer. The Pfizer is the best. The federal government is killing you without Pfizer. So that's what Pfizer is, the go-to vaccination here in Queensland. Andrew and Nicole Forrest and the Minderoo Foundation, they've been working with the Gates Foundation and they source their testing kits for the government via Beijing Genomics Institute. It's called BGI, the BGI. So the BGI has their lab in Australia, here in Queensland, and it's the same place as Queensland Pathology. It's in the same building. So that's the same building that Jeanette Young's husband works. Guess who has a direct relationship with them all? Henry Palaszczuk. So that's Anastasia's father. They're all in this together. Henry Palaszczuk is the chairman of Gene Technology Alliance Foundation. And I'll just give you some more information about Mr. Henry Palaszczuk as I've done a bit more research. There's some big words in all of this, but basically GTA Foundation Chairman Mr. Henry Palaszczuk, GTA will tap into genetic technology, blue ocean market valued at trillions of dollars. Keep following the money trail. Now, on September the 22nd, not so long ago, GTA, that's Gene Data Storage and Applications Summit, was grandly opened in Chao City in China. The event brought together celebrities, Nobel scientists, experts and scholars in the field of gene technology and data storage. So we're talking gene technology and data storage, sparking heated discussions on the application of genetic big data and artificial intelligence, gene data encryption and storage, human health and other relevant issues. The participators got together to envision the prospects of genetic technology and unveil the mysteries of life. Mr. Henry Palaszczuk, who's also known as Henry Bailiqui, Baileqi, chairman of the GTA Foundation, made a speech on genetic data storage leads the change of era. So here's Henry involved in a substantial company that it's all about genetic data storage. So the gene storage. So you begin to link as to why they're wanting to track people and to gain information and intelligence about people. So in which he mentioned by leveraging the unique blockchain incentive mechanism, once again you'll need to do research, GTA encourages more individuals to participate in gene sequencing and storage, adhering to the principles of collaboration, security, sharing, authentic right. GTA rapidly integrates individual users, gene sequencing companies, medical, pharmaceutical and health services and other data applications on just the one platform, as a result of which more individuals and businesses can get involved in the genetic data goldmine. These efforts will have a profound implication on exploring life mysteries, seeking the complex truth of life, advancing the development of biopharmaceuticals, precision medicine and genetic research. In this connection, GTA will become a world leader driving the development of genetic technology. Basically, that's where it all links down to, genetic technology. He pointed out personal genome-wide data can bring single application value to GTA, that's his company, chairman, which will double with the increase of use number. As increasingly more individuals get involved in genetic data storage, GTA will enjoy a remarkable premium. Facing a huge market valued at $1 trillion, driven by human genetic technology, GTA has undoubtedly become a powerful lever to delve into this vast blue ocean market in a bid to bring unprecedented disruption. So following on from Henry Palaszczuk's close connection to China and data storage and genetics, Jordan Peterson is a man that I hold in extremely high regard, who has a lot of success in just analysing the way people think. So I would like to play this. He recently spoke about how Hitler was even more evil than you think. Now, it's well worth listening to in the vein that this message is around now. How Hitler was even more evil than you think. Professor Jordan Peterson. It's on YouTube. Okay, I will. Yeah, I will provide the link to that. So it goes. You can pause now if you like. To John. Okay, this is about Anna Palaszczuk, our Premier, and the elite people that she hangs around. And I can tell you that when I was the mayor, and also when I was on council, but particularly when I was the mayor, she refused to greet me or to invite me to anything. And in the same vein, which will be in the book, local member Bruce Saunders never once answered an email, a phone call, or accepted any of the invites to anything that we or I had sent to him when I was the mayor. He would only talk to fellow ALP members. So they're not governing for all of Queensland. They're governing for their own likes. And so this, just on Anna Palaszczuk, let me just say, in the same vein as just keep following the money trail, always follow the money trail. And there's a scripture, the love of money is the root of all evil. So I'll just put that in the background. So it's all about money, and it's about control, and it's about power. And so they're basically taking from the workers and feeding themselves in substantial increase in finance from the workers of Queensland. So I looked up just Anna Palaszczuk's acquaintances over time, and it's interesting that there is a number, and that's her rights. She can whatever. But I'm just saying that the people that she was around and still around are all related in government circles, big CEOs of government funds. So they're well-paid people, all very well-paid. One of them, I'll just read here, it's from Simon Every, has spent over a decade in clean energy finance and leads the Clean Energy Finance's government and stakeholder relations team. So he helped set up both the Clean Energy Finance Corporation and its predecessor, the Low Carbon Australia. So here's one of Anastasia's boyfriends / partners who is now into clean energy finance. Do you see where the climate change is another big bucket of money for many in the bureaucracy as they just change the rules for the workers? So that's who he's now reporting to the CEO. Simon stewards the Clean Energy Finance Corporation's relationship with responsible ministers and key relationships with both the Australian governments, state and territory governments. So Chief of Staff to a Cabinet Minister, and it goes on. So he advised primarily on federal governance and integrity agencies, legal and electoral affairs, justice and customs. That's one of Anastasia's boyfriends. There's another one here, Sean Drabesh, Drabschch. Now, he now has moved to the Northern Territory. As they do, these people skip from well-paid government jobs to other well-paid government jobs, and there's a common denominator here. But in July just this year, the Chief Minister of the Northern Territory has confirmed one of Northern Territory's most senior bureaucrats was given a formal warning after the Anti-Corruption Commissioner criticised him in a damning report examining controversial $12 million government grant. Despite the warning, Sean Drabesh, who heads the Department of Industry, Tourism and Trade, has been tasked with providing advice to the Cabinet about recommendations made in the report that criticised him. The Independent Commissioner, the ICAC, released last month followed a year-long investigation into the handling of the multi-million-dollar grant the Northern Territory government gave to the Darwin Turf Club for a new grandstand in 2019. Commissioner Ken Fleming made findings of improper conduct against the Darwin Turf Club, as well as 5 individuals, one of which was Mr. Drabesh. Do you see there's a consistency in a lot of these things, but then once again nothing really happens. So the report goes on, there was nothing transparent about the whole deceptive process, but these people continue to remain in employment. So that was one of the partners of Anna Palaszczuk. It goes on, and of course Mr. Drabesh declines to comment. So they skip from great government jobs to other great government jobs. So the current boyfriend of Anna Palaszczuk is Brisbane's obesity clinic's boss, Dr. Ardib. Now, Dr. Ardib is very skilled at doing operations on obese people. So he's done about 20,000 operations, extremely wealthy man. And people travel from all over Australia to have their tummies tied by Dr. Ardib. Now, here we are where there's laws coming into Queensland about the unvaccinated not allowed to sit in a restaurant with the vaccinated. So the weird thing is it's quite okay today to be sitting in a restaurant unvaccinated with vaccinated, but somehow magically on December the 17th this segregation starts. And I was just wondering, with her attachment to this Dr. Ardib now, and he's all about obesity, maybe they could bring in that tubby people are not allowed to get takeaways, make a rule like that. That might save people from having to have the operation. But then again, I don't think that one would come in, he says cynically. So, and I do know that young staff aged 16 are now getting letters from their employers, and this will be in, retail, where young ones are just having a crack, getting a part-time job. They're now told, they've now received letters, you will not get any shifts unless you're double vaxxed. This is unbelievable that it's happening in the so-called democracy of Queensland, where young ones like that, they're just beginning their working careers, and now smack between the eyeballs they have to have it. And here's these elitist people living in mansions, just making up laws for the masses of people, taking huge payments for salaries, and basically locking up the small businessman. They're not concerned. They don't know what small business is about. They have no idea. Here's Anna Palaszczuk in probably the poorest suburban area of Brisbane, and she's just tied to all the rich and famous and the elites, like the actors, like the great sportsmen. But as for you, the working class people, or the people that are having a crack in small business, she's pulling the rug out from underneath your feet. So Queensland's in dire trouble. And just another connection that Anna Palaszczuk had was George Megalogenis. He was big into journalism, and so obviously you get the club of Brisbane type of feeling. So here's Henry, ex-politician, potentially making a squillion to do with gene technology, data, and all the people that have to go register in a shop, register where you're going here, where you're going there, and basically your health register is on there. We are being tracked by this government of bullies, and it needs to stop. I don't know how, but it just needs people in to just begin to rise up. And I just read this. This is an article about Twiggy Forrest. A mining magnate, this is back from 11 years ago, invests in biotech. Andrew Forrest is supporting Ian Fraser in a search for vaccines, so it's 11 years ago, against everything from the flu to cancer. So he's teamed up with former Australian of the Year and co-founder of the cervical cancer vaccine, Professor Ian Fraser, to invest in vaccines technology businesses chasing treatments for a range of diseases such as influenza, hepatitis C and cancer. Allied Medical is the company. It's controlled by Fortescue Metals, which Twiggy Forrest is the CEO of it. So he's invested $3 million in a junior biotechnology company called Corridon. Allied Medical is an unlisted public company controlled by Fortescue Metals and has agreed to invest $3 million. Oh, I've just said that. Sorry. Swapping the hard hat for the lab coat, the multi-million-dollar investment by Mr. Forrest underlines a keen and relatively new interest in biotechnology, space, and brings him into the orbit of one of the world's most respected scientists. It makes the Fortescue Metals chief executive a co-investor alongside fellow billionaires and a BRW rich list high flyers, the Lieberman family, which is an early backer of Professor Fraser's latest therapeutic discoveries. Pause. So this is a company that Mr. Forrest has 2 million shares in Allied Medical. So he's got 46% of the company. Now, and it links on, and it goes. Okay, so Twiggy Forrest also mines graphene, and from my research, graphene is in the Pfizer drug, which is a metal, and you need to do your own research on that. It's in the space of nanotechnology and tiny atoms and things like that. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm well and truly researched to the best of my ability at this stage into these sorts of things. But it always links back to money. There's a lot of money in graphene, and there's a lot of uses for graphene. And one of them is apparently in these, what I term these experimental vaccines. So, but once again, do your own research. Another linking company to Twiggy and the Lieberman family is Corridon, Coridon. And that company is another company that there is a huge amount of money to be made by the big pharmaceuticals in regards to medicines. And I'll leave it at that. Do your own research, and we'll be back with more. Okay, now just in regards to yesterday, the federal government turned down Pauline Hanson's One Nation proposal where she had, I think it's 200,000 signatures of people about this, the mandate of this segregation for within Australia, particularly Queensland, December 17th, where the unvaccinated are going to be treated like lepers. There are 6 senators only that voted for her. There was a few flicked across from the Liberal Nationals. They're people with a conscience, people with who really do have the heart of the community at heart, and I don't think they're not bowing to other people above them. They're voting with their conscience. So, and another person who I've always held in high regard is Senator Malcolm Roberts, who's a servant of the people of Queensland. He put forward a proposal to investigate the corruption within Queensland local government councils, and that was knocked back, but rest assured that that's still sitting as a live proposal to go before the federal government again. So for those in Queensland that well and truly know that there's still corruption within the local council seats, industry of Queensland, that Malcolm is still pushing for that. So for those that pray, these are the people to pray for, is the people that are standing up for truth. Search out for your own truth, and the truth will set you free. Thank you.